Godzilla -1. The film story begins in the final days of World War II. We see a drone landing at Odo Island Airfield. After that, we see the crew of the Odo Island detachment inspecting the aircraft's engine. Through the conversation between one of the crew members, named Tach, and the aircraft commander, Lieutenant Koichi Shikishima, we learn that the aircraft is a drone, but Lieutenant Shikishima backed out of detonating the aircraft, which is considered treason to the country. While Koichi Shikishima was sitting on the beach, he saw fish floating. At the same time, the detachment crew heard a strange sound, and they thought the sound was from an American weapon. But after they illuminated the sea, a giant, terrifying monster resembling a dinosaur appeared, destroying the lights and those who turned them on. Through the words of one of the crew members, we learned that this monster is called Godzilla, and that it came from the ocean. The crew and Koichi Shikishima flee and take shelter under a shed. After that, Tach tells Koichi Shikishima, "You are the only gunner among us, and we are just mechanics, so you must go to your artillery and kill the monster." Indeed, Koichi Shikishima immediately infiltrated the artillery, but the strange thing was that he was afraid to kill the monster and remained inside the artillery. At this time, the monster approached the crew, so they were afraid and began firing bullets at it, which angered the monster, so it attacked the entire crew and killed them, and attacked Koichi Shikishima and hit him. The next day, Koichi Shikishima regains consciousness and sees that the entire crew has died, except for one person, Tach. We see Tach attacking Koichi Shikishima and telling him they all died because he didn't shoot. In another scene, we see a ship full of passengers, and they were feeling very cold, and Koichi Shikishima was sitting among them. We now move to a scene in Tokyo, and we see Koichi Shikishima shocked by the destruction that befell the city due to the war. Suddenly, a woman emerges from their destroyed homes, named Noriko Oishi, and describes Koichi Shikishima as a traitor to the nation. Through their conversation, we learn that her children died in the war and that Koichi Shikishima's parents also died. The next day, a girl named Noriko appears with a small girl named Akiko, and she was fleeing from some people. When Koichi Shikishima stops her, she gives him the small girl Akiko and flees. Koichi Shikishima waits for Noriko to return and take the child, but she is late, so he decides to take the child with him. On the way, he sees Noriko, so he gives her the small girl, then he leaves. Noriko continues to walk behind him. Now we know that the small girl Akiko is not her daughter, but she is just a girl she found in the war. Noriko decides to stay with Koichi Shikishima. After a period of time, Koichi Shikishima was able to get a high-paying government job. But through his conversation with Noriko, we learn that Koichi Shikishima will work in dismantling mines in the sea, and this work is considered dangerous to his life. The next day, Koichi Shikishima goes to his new job and meets Noda, who is a naval weapons developer, and also meets the ship's captain, Akitsu. After that, Akitsu takes him and introduces him to the work mechanisms. After years of these events, we see that the situation has improved in Japan, and Akiko has grown up, and Koichi Shikishima has been able to build a house for them. We now see Noriko wearing a dress and telling Koichi Shikishima, "I have found a job, and I must rely on myself and leave the house so that you can take your comfort and see your life." In another scene, according to Japanese news, we learn that the monster Godzilla has begun to advance towards Japan and has become larger and more ferocious than before. We now see Koichi Shikishima, Captain Akitsu, and Noda in the middle of the ship. Through the conversation between them, suddenly, Koichi Shikishima sees the same fish he saw on Odo Island, but this time more. This made Koichi Shikishima scream and say, "Sound the alarm! Godzilla is coming!" Suddenly, the giant monster Godzilla appeared and destroyed the ship in front of them and advanced towards them. The captain immediately moves the ship, and Koichi Shikishima and Noda throw mines into the sea. When a monster approaches, they detonate the mines on it. The surprise is that the monster was not harmed at all. After violent attempts to fire bullets and mines at the monster, they discovered that they could not kill it at all. But suddenly, without warning, we see a giant ship appear and fire artillery at the monster. And all this supports Koichi Shikishima and the captain's friends. After a long struggle between them and the monster, we see that the monster withdrew from the battle and surrendered. After days passed, we see a ship trying to stop the monster from advancing to Tokyo. On the other hand, we see Koichi Shikishima playing calmly with Akiko. But suddenly, they hear the sound of maximum sirens, and then they hear from the radio that the monster Godzilla has advanced to the beach of Ginza, where they live, and they must evacuate the area immediately. We now see people fleeing from the monster, so the monster enters the city and destroys all cars and demolishes buildings. We now move to Noriko, who was on the train heading to the town, But during the journey, a bus thrown by the monster falls on a railway track, so the train stops. Noriko is shocked by the destruction that befell the city and the huge size of the monster. But the biggest shock is that the monster quickly advances towards the train that Noriko is on and lifts the train in its mouth, so half of the train's passengers fall and the people in it die, except for Noriko, who is still holding on. Noriko decides to throw herself into the sea, and indeed, she throws herself. Here she manages to get out of the sea and goes to the town. We see Koichi Shikishima trying to escape with Noriko. At this time, tanks come out and fight the monster with all their might, but the surprise is that a blue beam appears from the monster. And people thought that the monster had been eliminated, but in reality, the monster's power increased, and it fired a blue beam from its mouth that destroyed half of the city. At this time, Noriko was trying to protect Koichi Shikishima and pushed him to take shelter between the buildings, while she was swept back with the destruction. After the destruction ended, Koichi Shikishima comes out and sees that the town has been completely destroyed, and Noriko has disappeared. We now notice Koichi Shikishima after the situation stabilized and Noriko's death. We now know that Oda is the one who took care of raising Akiko and her remaining friends. Here Noda comes and tells Koichi Shikishima, there is a new strategy to get rid of the monster Godzilla, so what do you think about participating in it? The next day, Koichi Shikishima, Noda, and the rest of the members go to the meeting. We now see Hada introducing himself to them, and he's a former captain, and he tells them, we have no means to defend our people, and the solution is to confront the monster with our forces as civilians. But the members, who are warship captains, rejected his idea, and there was chaos in the place. Here Noda decided to go up on the platform and interrupt everyone and tell them, I have a plan, which is to drown the monster using freon gas, and then pull it out to be damaged to the maximum extent. Here Noda began to explain the plan to them in detail. After many arguments, they agreed to Noda's plan. At night, Koichi Shikishima suggested to Noda that he provide him with a warplane so that he could distract the monster, even though this idea would endanger his life, but Koichi Shikishima only wanted revenge for Noriko's death. The next day, Koichi Shikishima and Noda go to see the plane with which they will fight the monster. The plane was giant and powerful, and they designed it specifically to drop bombers, but the plane was abandoned, which made it rust and need a specialized aircraft mechanic. We now notice Koichi Shikishima looking for the only aircraft mechanic he knows, who is Tachi, the Odo island mechanic. But Koichi Shikishima was unable to reach Tachi's location and remained insistent on this mechanic, and was sending him many messages. At night, while Koichi Shikishima was returning home, an unknown person attacked him and hit him on the head. After a while, we see that Tachi is the one who hit Koichi Shikishima, and this means that Tachi received the messages that Koichi Shikishima was sending him. Through the conversation that took place between them, we learned that Koichi Shikishima sent messages accusing Tachi of being the cause of the crew's death on Odo Island, in order to provoke his anger and make him come to him. After a long conversation between them, Koichi Shikishima told Tachi that he was the only one who could help him, because Koichi Shikishima wanted to fill the planes with explosives and throw himself inside the monster's mouth to kill it from inside. The next day, Tachi came to the place and began to implement the plan. Each member participating in the plan was given 1 day to spend with his family. We now see Koichi Shikishima thanking Oda for taking care of Akiko, and he bid farewell to the little girl Akiko and left a small envelope under Akiko's head. The next day, Akiko opened the envelope and found money and a letter written in it. Take care of Akiko and spend this money on her. At this time, the captain on the ship began to implement the plan, but suddenly, everyone on the ship is shocked when they see a ship flying in the air and falling to the ground, and we know that Godzilla the monster is coming to them with full force. Meanwhile, we see Koichi Shikishima preparing to attack with his warplane, and he has placed Noriko's picture in front of him, which he considers a motivation for revenge against the monster. Meanwhile, Koichi Shikishima begins to take off directly towards the monster. In another scene, we notice Koichi Shikishima trying to distract the monster, and he wants to lure it to the targeted area in the city to implement the plan and be able to drown the monster underwater. Meanwhile, Oda receives a postal message. As for Koichi Shikishima, he was trying to lure the monster to the sea. After several attempts, he managed to lure it to the sea to implement the plan. At this time, the monster began to emit the destructive blue radiation, and indeed it fired the radiation at one of the empty ships and blew it up, but the rest of the ships began to prepare their artillery and surround the monster from all directions. As for Koichi Shikishima, he continued to attack the monster to destroy it. We now see the monster while emitting the blue radiation, and the plan is implemented, and the gas shells explode, and they were able to pull the monster into the sea. After that, silence prevailed for a few seconds, and they thought that the monster had died, but the surprise is that the monster returned again. So the captain decided to resort to the alternative plan, and when they started pulling the monster, the cranes collapsed. Meanwhile, rescue ships arrived and helped them pull the monster. Indeed, they were able to pull it to the sea and control it. But suddenly, Godzilla emits a deadly blue beam at them. Before that, Koichi Shikishima arrived by plane and entered directly into the monster's mouth, and the plane exploded. And everyone thinks that Koichi Shikishima has died. But suddenly, Koichi Shikishima descends from the plane with a parachute, and this is because the mechanic Tatch is the one who provided the plane with rescue parachutes. We now see the monster disintegrating from the inside, and everyone raises their hands in a salute of respect to Lieutenant Koichi Shikishima. Oda comes and surprises Koichi Shikishima with the paper she took from the post office, which is a message from Noriko. In another scene, we move to Koichi Shikishima in the hospital because he was shocked when he learned that Noriko was still alive and had not died. He was happy after he eliminated the monster, and his friends were alive, and security, peace, and complete calm prevailed, and everyone lived happily.